Mahigit 2 buwan simula nang isailalim ang ating bansa, partikular ang iba't ibang lugar na may mataas na kaso ng COVID-19 sa community quarantine. Sa ngayon, patuloy pa rin po tayo sa pagbantay sa balita tungkol sa mga isyong may kinalaman sa COVID-19 crisis. Ang pandemya pong ito ay talaga namang sinubok at patuloy na sinusubok ang ating katatagan bilang isang nasyon. Sa Lunes, Hunyo 1 po ay isa sa ilalim na ang NCR at iba pang rehiyon sa General Community Quarantine o GCQ. Pero bago pa po tayo pumunta dyan, sa punto pong ito, ibang klaseng istorya naman po ang inyong matutunghayan. Ngayong hapon ay makakasama po natin sa kwentuhan ang tinaguriang icon of the Philippine politics. Ano ba ang kanyang masasabi tungkol sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon natin? At ano pa ba ang hindi pa natin alam tungkol sa kanya? Wala pong iba, let's all welcome. Magandang hapon po sa inyo, former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile. Hi sir, good morning. Hi sir, good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon pala.
Opo. Salamat po sa pagpapaunlak nyo na kayo po ay aming makaistorya.
Salamat din sa inyo at salamat sa binigyan ninyong pagkakataon sa akin na marinig muli ng bansa.
Yes, that's right po. Siyempre, we are all very excited malaman po ang inyong opinion, kuro-kuro dito po sa mga nangyayari recently sa atin. Mr. Senator, ang COVID-19 po talaga is something new to all of us. And as we discover this pandemic, we have heard a lot of opinions about it. But of course, as I've said kanina, we would like to hear your thoughts on this matter, sir. So what is your take on the current COVID-19 pandemic and how do you think it will affect the way people live moving forward?
Actually, this is not the first time that the country is affected with something like this. No,
Really?
I remember when I was young, we had what they call the trancaso, or the Spanish flu. No.
Yes, yes.
And that killed a lot of people. Then we had the epidemic of smallpox. So you will see a lot of people with pock marks on their faces because that was a very telling epidemic in those times. And then we had an epidemic of cholera, epidemic of dysentery. Then there was a time of when people of the country were suffering wildly with malaria. I was one of the victims. I suffered dysentery.
Really?
I suffered malaria. And this one is another one, you know. And the trouble with this one is, this is worse than being invaded by the Japanese, because at least in the case of a war, you'll see the enemy. You can fire at your opponent, they can fire at you, and you can avoid them.
You can strategize.
Yeah, but in this case, you do not know the enemy. It's there, it kills you, it affects you, and it imprisons the entire nation. Now, the effect of this is first, it will weaken the population because it involves the health of the nation. So therefore, it will also weaken the economy. It will cause losses to everybody, loss of jobs, loss of livelihood, loss of profits for the businessmen, loss of interest to the bankers, less of rents to the renters, and so forth and so on. And the government ultimately will suffer because it will be spending money, and yet the economy will weaken, will have less revenue, and so essentially and eventually public services will suffer.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
but thank you for sharing, Sir, Mr. Senator, yung mga events na nangyari that you have experienced before COVID-19. Because for me, ako, sir, in my my lifetime, I would only remember EDSA. Of course, I've heard and read something about it in the news and in some news articles. Tapos, syempre, yung Ondoy, Yolanda. Pero given that you have shared with us yung mga iba pang mga pandemic that you have experienced, thank you so much po for sharing.
You are a millennial.
Yes, I am millennial.
Yeah, you were born from 1980 ka. From 1980 onwards.
Medyo onwards pa po. Yes, that's right.
Oh. Correct.
Oh.
Now, well, you people, you do not know the past. It's a long, long past, and
Yes,
lots of
yes.
things happen, and lots of experiences transpired. You know what happened between 1980 and today's 2020.
Right.
You will see more from 2020 all the way to 2040. If you're lucky, you will survive it. But many of our countrymen, especially the young people, will see what we also saw, a war
Yes.
in our area, and
Yeah.
scarcities of resources like energy, especially oil, natural gas, financial resources will be scarce. Interest
I
rates will
agree.
go up.
That's right.
The price of gasoline will go up. The price
And it's
of
already
natural gas
happening.
will go up. And there will be scarcity of jobs because this century you will see the automation of many things. Robotics is coming. It will replace people from their jobs. You'll see streets with cars running without drivers.
So many changes. But having said that, sir,
in a way you are lucky, but in a way also you will have an exciting experience and very uncertain future. Okay?
Yes. But having said that, sir, frankly speaking, sa inyo pong palagay, you mentioned scarcity of jobs and all of these are already happening right now. Sa inyo pong palagay, is the current government taking the right path in addressing COVID-19 pandemic? What are the ups and downs on how they are dealing with this pandemic?
I'm not pandering with the current government. In fact, I do not. I'm not involved with them. But
yes.
I must say that given the fact that they have limited resources, unlike other countries like America, China, Russia, Germany, France, the modern states, including India, they have done a tremendous job. They have limited funding, limited supplies, limited personnel, limited facilities, and yet they were able to control COVID-19. We should be happy that they succeeded in controlling it the way they have done it.
Yeah, actually, this is for me. This is actually a learning process for all of us. But Mr. Senator, I've watched a documentary about Bill Gates. Years ago, he has said that if the governments worldwide can spend on, military hardware, they should also pay attention to developing a program that would defend ourselves, not only from, terrorists, but also from pandemics like this. And I was thinking, what do you think po the Philippines should do to strengthen its healthcare system? Bakit po there are news, diba, na lumabas po na hindi daw po na-explore yung supposedly pandemic act na inihain ni late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago. So, if you were at least aware of this, this could have been useful today, di ba po? So, what do you think po?
First of all, I will deal with Bill Gates.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is possible if we have the money, You can prepare. Well, she has plenty of money personally. But dealing with the demography of the country, the population, and their individual problems and collective problems, it requires a lot of money. And America is not, even if it's a rich, very rich country, it does not have all the cash, all the money to support all the requirements of their society. The same way with us. We have many problems. We have to prioritize because we do not have all the money. I do not know whether Miriam Santiago anticipated COVID-19. I have never heard her talk about it. I knew her. She graduated from UP College of Law. In fact, I was the first one to give her a job, including
really?
wow, including the first wife of Franklin Drilon, Sioli Calvo. I was Secretary of Justice. I never heard her talk about uh,
The
anything
Pandemic
like
Act.
anything like virus or COVID-19 or whatever virus
It was in the
there is.
archive po kasi in the news that that she actually were pushing for this bill, yung Pandemic Act. So just in case there will be pandemics like this, yung COVID-19, we'll be able to use it. Yun po yung sinasabi nung kanyang pinupush na bill.
Well, what she pushed along with Pia Cayetano was the what is that bill? Reproductive
health care bill.
Health bill. But the experience of other countries now indicates that that kind of a bill is counterproductive for a nation. And that is the problem being suffered by China, Japan, India, Russia, Germany, France, Spain, and even United Kingdom. Population control. And population control affects the balance of your economy. If you do
Yes, I agree.
You do not have young people to grow up to become your consumers and later on savers, then you have no economy. You have no tax soldiers. You have no taxpayers. You have no sources of financial resources.
Yes,
so,
but
I oppose that. Tito Soto and I oppose that bill. Soon you will see the impact of that reproductive bill. They followed the thinking of the people who wanted to control population, and that's why today that is one of the biggest problem of the world, of every nation, aging countries. You know?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I understand. I've also read something about yung in Italy. They've actually before COVID pandemic, they're actually asking people to live in their country because of their aging population.
Yeah, because Russia now. That's why Russia is very weak as a country. Apart from the fact that their population is affected by tuberculosis drug-resistant tuberculosis and HIV, about 30% of their population, they are aging. The ethnic Russians are going to be replaced by non-ethnic Russians in Russia because of a foolish policy that they adopted to control their population. That is also the problem of China, the one-child policy.
One-child policy, that's right.
4-to-1, the 4-to-1 policy. And it takes 20 years to grow a child to become productive in the society. To cure a demographic problem, it takes 60 years. So they'll have to wait for 60 years, if at all, to correct the wrong policies that they have adopted.
But given what you've said, I agree with you na here in the Philippines, talagang limited yung resources natin when it comes to healthcare system. But what could have we done para mas maganda yung response natin dito sa COVID-19 pandemic, sir?
You have to accept that there are imponderables in the life of individual people as well as of nations. You cannot anticipate everything, and this is one of them. No country can anticipate everything. As Machiavelli said, virtu necessita fortuna. Fortuna is always unpredictable. COVID is a part of fortuna.
Oh well, sige. Marami pa po akong gustong itanong sa inyo pero magbabalik muna tayo ha. Sige po, maya-maya. Ayan, nagbabalik po ang pangalawang bahagi ng ating Istorya session with former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile. So, Mr. Senator, before tayo mag-proceed dun sa next topic natin for the second part, I just want to ask you this question. How do you think people should behave in dealing with crisis? Because I guess there are two schools of thought. one is a large portion of society who advocate for the stay-at-home movement. And there are also those, especially in the States, they are those who want yung my body, my choice movement battle cry. So the U.S. government cannot impose quarantine protocols on them. So what do you think? How should people behave in dealing with this crisis po?
I would rather follow the rules established by the authorities governing the country. That's why you have a government. Because an individual may think for himself or herself, but she cannot think or claim to think for the collectivity, for the society that will be affected by the result of her or his conduct. So that is why we have laws. We have to follow the rules established at a given time and for a given event by our authorities.
Yes, I agree.
I would rather subject myself to a quarantine in order to comply with the requirements of the collectivity, not only myself. You know, you want to be an individualist, you better go to somewhere else and live by yourself. But
yes,
unfortunately, if you live in a society, there are so many people that could be affected by your decisions, your conduct. So that is my position. Now,
but you know,
the authorities, on the other hand, should also be reviewing their policies. They cannot imprison the people for a long, long time, because to imprison them for a long, long time, there is a downside. Their health will suffer, their psychological bent will suffer, their pockets will suffer, their kabuhayan will suffer, their stomach will suffer, they have no jobs, they have no food, then they become
tuloy-tuloy na
distressed, and then that will become a social outburst.
Yeah.
You have to orchestrate this very carefully.
It's good that you mentioned po yung psychological impact, because yung iba kasi nagsabi sila, ayaw namin matkulong sa bahay because baka mabaliw na kami sa loob ng bahay. And experts are saying that the next pandemic that we should be preparing for is yung mental health. So marami po talaga, tulad ng sinabi nyo, marami yung apektado ng krisis na ito, and talagang may impact ito sa mental health ng mga tao. But Mr. Senator, if you were to suggest, what can the private and government sector do to mitigate the negative psychological impact of this quarantine on our youth?
I do not want to interfere, but I would suggest respectfully that the government should review their policies. Let the people, and assume them to be irresponsible people. The people are responsible. They take care of themselves wisely. They have already gone through a period of quarantine. Then release them to the public and caution them to take care of themselves so that the society can start moving forward. Otherwise, we will be at a standstill like now. No jobs. When they deprive people of sources of income to buy food, the next thing is there will be hunger. And once that hunger sets in and expand, you'll have a problem, a law and order problem. Yeah. Which will become worse.
You cannot deal with somebody who is hungry. They do anything.
They become irrational.
Yes, they become irrational. That's right. But sir, having said that, let's move on naman po dito sa ating next part ng ating Istorya session. And Mr. Senator, you're obviously one of the faces of Philippine democracy. As I've mentioned off-air kanina, I've seen several of your photos here in our house with my late mother-in-law, June Keithy Castro, and of course with then President Cory Aquino, former President Fidel V. Castro, and many more icons of former President Fidel Ramos rather, and many more icons of EDSA People Power. And clearly po, you have played a major role in the EDSA People Power Revolution back in 1986. So I was wondering po talaga, coming from you, what was the catalyst or the last straw for you to eventually push for this? I mean, why year 1986? Why not a year before that?
What's the question? I did not get the question.
Yeah. You played a major role po in the EDSA People Power Revolution back in 1986. And I was wondering po, what was the catalyst or the last straw for you to eventually push for this? I mean, bakit po hindi bago 1986 or bakit hindi after 1986? Ano po ba talaga yung nangyari?
Alam mo, unknown to the people, there was factionalism in the military.
Mm-hmm.
We did not know that President Marcos was sick at that time. It was kept from us. But a certain group in the military, in the high command of the military, they knew that President Marcos was very sick. And so there was a military junta that was set up by them to take over from President Marcos should he died. And it was the Chief of Staff, the Head of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Coast Guard, and the Chief of Staff. So when I learned about that, I quietly organized a group to resist them. And that was the outburst that happened in 1986. It was not against President Marcos. He was a collateral damage. And it was triggered because there was a snap election and a lot of things happened before that. And it exacerbated the social condition of the country. But at bottom was that cleavage in the military organization. And that is the danger in this country. Not all people who salute you will follow you. They will salute you as a matter of course. But you do not know whether at bottom they will support you.
So, sir, thank you for sharing that. It's very interesting na coming sa inyo, manggagaling sa inyo itong mga factual history na nangyari sa atin. And I mean, I've heard several stories na po regarding this, pero iba pa rin po pag galing sa inyo no? Pero having said that, sige po.
Alam mo, ako, I never talked and I never claimed any participation in any event. I did not want glory or popularity. There are some people, they wanted to become heroes, although they were not. So, pabayaan mo na lang sila na maging hero. The fact is that we had to do a job for the country because we did not want this country to break up.
That's more important. But having said that po, sir, I noticed who don't know much about EDSA People Power on how are we, enjoying this democracy that we have right now. Case in point po yung anak ko. He would always get into arguments with friends or classmates. Each time they would talk about EDSA People Power. Kasi sasabihin niya, my lola is one of the icons in EDSA People Power. And then some of them don't know. I mean, they would laugh and say, sino si Jun Keith Lee? And then other friends naman po would say, I'm proud kasi kaibigan ko yung apo nung isa sa EDSA People Power. So why do you think there are still many people out there? And I think should it have been included more in the educational sector's curriculum for the history?
Angela, there are 3 events in this country that nearly destroyed this country. First was the war, World War II, Japanese invasion. Second was the communist movement. If Marcos did not declare martial law, this country would be like North Korea, perhaps. Indonesia was being almost taken over by the communists. If that happened, we were next. So Marcos acted immediately. Now, then EDSA revolution. So the people must study their history deeply and analyze what happened so that they learn a historical lesson.
Yes, that's right. I agree.
And then don't be taken by this propagandist and propaganda to build up certain egos and proclaim them as heroes, even if they were not heroes. Their feet are made of clay.
Pero should have been included more in our educational curriculum for history kasi parang konti lang po yung nakikita natin tungkol doon .
Immediately after the EDSA Revolution, people wanted to grab the credit.
Yes,
Some religious people wanted to grab the credit. Some politicians went out of their way to grab the credit. But we who really wanted to do just something to prevent something and save the country from possible civil war and anarchy, kept quiet. And then we thought that they were going to do a good job. They started fooling around with the very issues that they were raising, corruption, dictatorship, and so forth and so on. So there was a counter-reaction.
Nako. Anyway, sir, meron pa tayong isa pa. Pero magbabalik po muna tayo. Diyan lamang po kayo. Welcome back po ulit sa ating Istorya Sessions with former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile. Mr. Senator, when people found out that ikaw po yung guest ko today, marami pong nagtatanong, what is the other side of this very intelligent man? And ako po, personally, I would like to know these things po. Number one, syempre, it is a well-known fact that you love books po. So how many books would you say you have read in your lifetime? And ano po yung mga favorite books na binabasa ninyo?
I cannot remember anymore. I've been reading since high school. So up to now, I read the current ones. The last book I'm reading is published this year, 2020. It's about the breakup of nations in this century, this United Nations by Peter Zeihan. He wrote 3 books. Accidental Superpower, Absent Superpower, and now the 3rd book is about the isolationism and protectionism foreign policy of the United States.
Talagang well-read po kayo, Mr. Senator. No? Pero since we are in digital age po, would you suggest sa mga kabataan ngayon to read more even in e-books, or mas maganda pa rin yung mag-stick sila sa original hardbounds na mga books?
Well, it's easy to you want to be intellectually lazy. Well, you would just put the earphone in your ear and hear people reading a book. But it is better to read it yourself and analyze it. Because an author cannot clarify very well certain things in writing a book. So you integrate all the readings that you make and think about it, reflect about it, whether they are telling something that is not true or something that is true.
Yes.
Then you really establish a knowledge and develop your wisdom. And that's what I've been doing all these years.
Yes. And that is something we should avoid talaga these days po, Mr. Senator, yung fake news. Ang daming fake news ngayon online.
You have uneducated, literate people.
Yes. That's right. Pero aside from reading, Mr. Senator, naisip ko lang, what are the other things that keep your mind very sharp? Kasi ito, marami rin po gusto makalaman ito. Ano po ba yung nilalaro nyo? Card games or mobile games? I remember there's an incident with you and the late Senator Miriam Santiago that you were playing. Bejeweled po ba yun o Candy Crush? So what are the other things that you do?
You know, when I don't like to be hearing what somebody's saying, I pretend that I am playing so that she'll get irritated.
That's one thing I should do, siguro. Thank you for the tip.
I do a lot of things. You know, I plant rice, I grow fish, I I raise native chicken, goats, lamb, wild boars, deers. In my place, I have a little fish pond. I raise bangos, lapu-lapu, malaga or samaral, and tilapia, and crabs.
You should teach me how to do all those things.
And then I swim. I swim in salt water, and that's where I'm done.
That's right. Pero, sir,
I eat saluyot.
Wow, saluyot. I love saluyot. Masarap akong saluyot. Dapat turuan niyo ako minsan, sir, mag-plant ng mga ganyan sinasabi niyo.
You're welcome.
Pero I see po, no, the first time that we talk is through Facebook, no? I see that you've been active on social media. But are you aware po that you have become a social media meme icon? May mga jokes po about you. Yung mga younger generation has really connected with you through that. So are you aware of this? Have you embraced your place in the Philippine social media?
Yeah, I'm amused about it because they make me like more than what I'm really am, you know?
Yeah. So what, having seen all of those memes about you, what is the most, for you po, what is the most creative FB meme na ginawa tungkol sa inyo po?
That I was in love with Eve.
Nagselos daw po kayo kay Adam.
I was the snake between Adam and Eve.
So you like that? You like that?
No.
Have you seen yung dinosaur era po?
I'd like to go back to the beginning. You know, Adam and Eve is the beginning.
Yeah, so many creative
At least in those days, they never wore anything. So, as a man,
you just let it loose.
I was the snake watching them.
Ay nako, there's so many FB memes po talaga about you, and it's really nice to know how these younger generation have connected with you through all of those things. Ano. Pero one more thing before I let you go, Mr. Senator, I hope you are game dito sa aking papagawa sa inyo. Yung parang ano lang po, slam book question lang. Favorite food, ganyan. Tapos ano po, one-liner answer lang so we could proceed sa mga konting questions lang naman.
If I can answer, I will answer.
Ayan. O, sige. Gusto ko yan. Sige, ito po. What is your favorite food?
Huh?
What is your favorite food?
Oh, I have no favorite. I'll eat anything. Anything that is edible, I will eat it.
Favorite movie?
Huh?
Favorite movie?
I do not watch movie.
You don't watch movie. Okay, so you read. So that's something we should know. Okay, favorite song? Favorite song? Favorite song?
Favorite nyo kanta.
Ano?
Favorite na kanta.
Favorite na kanta?
Ay Kalisud. And to all the girls I loved before.
Ayo. Which leads me to my next question, sir. Who is your ultimate girl crush?
My ultimate
girl crush.
Girl crush.
Girlfriend.
Crush.
Girl crush.
My girl crush. Oh, my wife. My
wife. Yes, good answer.
Christina.
Good answer. Very smart talaga tong si sir. And also, cell phone or computer? Which one do you like? Cell phone or computer?
I use my computer every day.
Okay, every day.
I do not handle my cell phone.
Okay.
I'm clumsy in handling this gadget. It's better for me to read my desktop and interact with the people interacting with me.
Yeah. Okay, next. Coffee or tea?
I do not take tea. I take choco.
Wow, you're like me. I also love chocolate. Hot chocolate. Beauty or brains? Beauty or brains?
I'd rather have a brainy person. The beauty will fade away.
Yes, beauty will only last you 10 minutes, sabi nga nila. So brains, Mr. Senator is all for brains. And airplane or boat?
Airplane.
Airplane or boat?
or boat.
Yes.
I cannot park the airplane, but at least I can row the boat, you know.
Yeah. Yes, we row the boat. Okay. And then also tips on how to stay strong and healthy.
Ano?
Tips on how to stay strong and healthy.
Tip to be.
I cannot get it. You know, my hearing is a little weak. You tell
Sir,
me what is it?
tips on how to stay strong and healthy.
Tip how to be strong and healthy.
What I do is I exercise every day. Before I get out of bed, I develop my own exercise. I go under the sun for at least 30 minutes. And I ate moderately.
Ayun. Any
And
wise
then-
word?
And then, to keep my mind sane, I read or I read poems, memorize poems.
What is your favorite poem?
Huh?
Or poem?
What?
What is your favorite poem?
My favorite poem is Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam.
I should check that on. Check natin yan. Babasahin ko rin yan. Any wise words po, Mr. Senator, for our viewers? Any wise words po for
Well,
our viewers? Yung quotable quote by JPE.
Follow the law, take care of yourself, but always remember that there are people around you and respect their rights and interact with them kindly and quietly. Thank you.
Ayun. On that note, maraming salamat po sa inyo. Thank you for your time, Mr. Senator Juan Ponce Enrile.
Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you po. Yan, kulang na kulang po talaga ang 30 minutes para makausap itong si former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile. At moving on, maraming salamat po ulit sa inyong oras, sa inyong pagkakataon. Muli ang ating paalala sa ating kababayan na manatili po sa inyong mga tahanan. Huwag lalabas kung wala rin naman pong mahalagang gagawin. Panatilihing malinis po ang paligid at ang ating mga sarili. Siyempre po, dalangin rin po natin ang katapusan ng pandemyang ito. Maraming salamat po sa bayanihan na ipinakita po nating mga Pilipino. Muli, let us continue to show the world that love, kindness, and solidarity cannot be quarantined. Ako po, si Angela Lagunsad at ito ang Istorya.